I will have nothing to do with people celebrating this so-called holiday, and let me explain why. It's hypocritical for people to think that it's okay, which it is, to prepare for the potential war in the future, civil unrest, or invasion from China and Russia, but it's not okay to treat other people in other lands as terrorists for taking up arms and defending themselves, okay? Having said that, let me say this. There's a lot of people that befriended me during the George Bush years and Obama years to later throw me away years later and come around and act like, we're going to be friends again. When in reality, military veterans have never actually helped me. There's no evidence of it. Whether we look at Hiram Jensen in Costilla County, who took my computer with his own white liberal wife, Bernie Sanders supporting wife, saying, in response to my ethnicity, what's your view about women? As if that's normal to ask someone that, who's a human being, who's coming to someone's aid when they're being kicked off their land. I have lots of other stories as well as far as dealing with veterans, but there is a massive psychosis in this country regarding military privilege and military men being treated like they're on par with Jesus. See, this whole Jesus died for our sins on the cross on one hand, and then people saying that these people died for our freedoms. And you also have the welfare system, basically, where a lot of people that serve the military are getting paid for life. At the same time, you have military veterans that are homeless, that don't have the intelligence to realize that the system doesn't really care about military veterans. It lies to veterans to use them, to use their flesh in a sacrifice. So not only are they sacrificing millions of lives overseas to Satan, they're also sacrificing the lives of military veterans. And so we have a lack of health care in this country for those of us that haven't served. But yet, for those that have served, they have a VA. Not that the VA really helps them. And so when it comes to veteran PTSD, and I'm re-recording this video because my previous recording was way too loud, went way too fast, and I played Megadeth in the background, and it distorted what I was saying. But I was really pumped up while I was saying it. Okay. Marijuana is fine to a certain degree. So is MDMA and mushrooms. I'm not really a big fan of psychedelics. But I'm here to tell you the truth. You can't drink away your PTSD. You can't screw away your PTSD by having lots of sex with the whores of this day and age. More on that later. You need to be encouraged to have compassion for the people that you've harmed and for people of an ethnic nature in this country, some of which are Muslims, but not radicals, and some of which may be Christians or Gnostics, even New Agers and others. Don't really know that many New Agers that are Middle Eastern. But there are non-radical descendants of the immigrants that have migrated to this country from lands that have been destroyed by the U.S., by Russia, and perhaps in the future, China, as China cozies up to the Taliban. I wonder why that really is, and I wonder what threat is coming to the Afghani people. I was right when I said that China would move into Afghanistan and establish mining rights. This was before the Taliban returned to power, and there were deals that the U.S. made with China on certain levels as far back as 10 years ago. So this is a day in which people celebrate mass murders. And there's also a big difference between the men that served in Vietnam that were forced to go and the men that went to Iraq and Afghanistan. I want nothing to do with people that celebrate, for example, Chris Kyle of American Sniper, and people that hang out with these modern day veterans that think that they're tough. There's nothing tough about men that rely on guns. I don't have a gun, so I can easily be killed, but my faith is in God. Okay, that makes me a man of God, of faith. That doesn't make me an extremist. A lot of the people that became so-called, what we call terrorists in the Middle East, some could argue were forced into that because they had no other choice. And so if America is invaded, and if there are kidnappings of American women, whether it be white women or other ethnic women in the country, there are men that are going to take up arms against the invaders, and they're going to be considered terrorists, and they're going to be drone striked out of existence. It's cowardly of a supposed superior U.S. military to go into certain areas in Yemen and Iraq and Afghanistan and use drones. So they act like the Afghani people are inferior, when in reality, even though it's the Taliban, and the Taliban was funded by Pakistan's ISI, which of course is connected to the CIA, but still you do have some Afghans that have been unfortunately pulled into that. And so the reality is the Afghans are tough fighters. This is why they use drones against those people. This is why the Afghani people are now deliberately being starved. And I recommend that you watch my interview with Zahir Wahab and that you go into the links. Always, always, always read the descriptions. Always go to alexansary.substack.com and read the full blog, because I write additional details. Sometimes I forget to say certain things in the video, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, for my video, 66 questions, there's also 67 and 68, meaning, have you personally been threatened with a 30-06 when you stated of your partial Afghani blood to a psychotic drunken white man living off the grid? Were you personally threatened with a firearm in Costilla County in another situation where you stood back against someone, fired back against someone, not to his face, but on YouTube, and said that it's BS to say that Afghanistan should be nuked? So people act like they have a right to say white lives matter and black lives matter, but they want to act like I'm in the wrong for asserting my value and my worth, and for standing up for the millions of dead that have been wiped off the face of the earth forever. You know, I'm thinking that song by Megadeth, Countdown to Extinction. And so it's satanic for people to worship those in the military system when they have done so much damage. And what they're really doing is desecrating the good Marines of the past that fought in World War II, that fought the Nazis. I wanted to bring up a comment, but that's going to take some time and focus to do so. But the real reason that the Afghans are hated more than the Palestinians is that the Afghans were not able to be so suppressed so easily. Oh, an individual like me could be taken out like that if God allows it. And if so, so be it. But as far as a group of Afghans in Afghanistan, even though supposedly, right, there's all this weaponry that the United States possesses, that Russia possesses, and this is not the first time that empires have failed to take over and completely eradicate the Afghani people. Okay, we saw a failed attempt with the British as well. So in a future report, I'm going to talk about these things, but I'm telling you now, it's not an accident that nobody in the conspiracy theory movement that deals with 9/11 truth talks about Afghan history. It's not an accident that the women of today's day and age and culture are more cold-hearted to me than they ever were at any other time in human history. If I tell them about something traumatic that happened to me, that some white supremacist did to me, and this includes a lot of men, they not only stop talking to me, they lose respect for me. So I want to take this moment and thank those of you that do support me, although there's a reason why there's only 20 or 30 views per video. I'm not going to give up. But I'm also not going to be under some sort of blind assumption that there's going to be widespread support for me financially in the future. Those of you that assume that people will support me based on what I'm saying, you're making a grave error by not realizing that because I've been open about my ancestry and I speak about the things that I'm speaking of, the algorithm hides my posts, won't let me comment on lots of YouTube channels, won't let me go into an Afghanistan Facebook page. All my past posts are pending. The admins will not approve them. It's also possible that AI has marked all my posts as spam. I can't go into an Afghanistan or a Muslim page on Reddit or anywhere else on social media. If I tweet at certain groups, they block me right away. If I send my content like these videos to mosques in my area or in other cities, they ignore those posts. So I'm here to ask you a question. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Are we dealing with something demonic? And if we are just dealing with AI, is it something demonic that is behind AI? And has AI programmed many human beings to be judgmental to people with light? Are there negative entities that are courting up with some of these humans that see me coming vibrationally and they act in a way to suppress me? And so, as I said before, there's many women that are willing to rip their clothes off and have nasty, wild sex with a man to give him fellatio and get off on that, when in reality, they may actually hate that man's DNA or come to hate that man's DNA and the people of his ancestors' homeland in, say, the year 2014, 2015, 2016, with the rise of Donald Trump and fake news. And so there's a lot of people out there that think that they can watch my content and support Donald Trump. And while I've been trying to be kind to some of you, there's a reason why you don't really support my work financially when you have the means to. And there's a reason why you don't share my content with others. And you're blind to think that what I'm looking for is lots of likes, lots of clicks, lots of views, as if I'm getting some sort of MDMA, like ecstasy, like euphoria from that. Yes, I do enjoy likes and I do enjoy comments, but life is more than that digital dopamine rush. And if you want more information about that, watch my video on overcoming internet addiction. Because a lot of people are addicted to social media now. And as a result of that, they have no empathy. This includes many people in my father's family. Recently, there's a few people that came over and liked a few of my links because we had some exchanges on Facebook in which Alex Ansary reported that he has heart trouble. And I said some supportive things there. So you need to know that in my life, despite the fact that I've spoken up for these people, that my father has made sure that he has turned as many Ansary relatives against me, prevented me in some cases from posting in his group, or in some cases it could be AI, preventing them from even seeing my posts. And while he talks out in the open on Facebook about his daughter who he put through law school and his son, he doesn't do anything to connect me with this daughter of his, basically my half-sister and my half-brother. And I'm asking myself, what kind of half-brother and sister do I have that they're not even curious about their brother? Do they even know that they have a brother named Alex Ansary? And as far as negative things that my father has said about me behind my back, even though I stand up for his people, what exactly has he said about me? And again, this is a man that for years earned over 200 G's from the US government as a translator. He worked for a corrupt corporation, just so you know, that overcharged in translation services. So they basically paid people for 8 hours work when they actually worked 2 hours. So when we talk about corruption, we're not just talking about the murder of innocent men, women, and children. We're not just talking about the fact that they don't count all the bodies. We're talking about the fact that they have ripped off the American taxpayer with these contractors. It's not just Blackwater. It's many other corporations and contractors as well. And so it's amazing how blood money can buy off so many. I removed some people on my page for worshiping Chris Kyle and being associated with this person who was featured in the movie American Sniper. And I want nothing to do with them. No military veteran has ever helped me with cannabis when I've needed it, a friend to talk to. One person that I was talking to who was always bragging about his status as a veteran offered to help me in some way, and it was around the same time that I uploaded that podcast, basically being critical of January 6th, right? I'm not programmed by the mainstream media. I'm an independent mind. And so as January 6th was happening, I did a play-by-play. I took down notes of what I witnessed from the mainstream media and also how Fox News turned away from what was happening on January 6th and filmed Congress from behind, the Capitol building from behind, because they saw what was happening and didn't want to be part of exposing unintentionally any criminal activity from Trump supporters. So they did a cutaway, and we could see officers running to the back of the Capitol building because they had been maced. Alex Jones, by the way, was on Russian mainstream media not too long ago. Okay. So we're dealing with people that are following Trump and Alex Jones and their allegiance to Russia when Russia, formerly known as the Soviet Union, went into Berlin and raped the German women. Just because the Nazis were destructive and killed many people doesn't mean that the women should have been raped. And so while there's a big focus on demonizing brown men as rapists, that's really, really sad, because the stigma, a lot of white women, and I'm not a misogynist, they want to continue to play that argument that any criticism of dark feminine is misogyny and it's satanic. So women will naturally judge me, and many of them will act like they're my friends. Some of them may actually offer to send some oils, when in reality, they want me to be their customer. And they will sit there and think that I'm going to take it and be okay with it when they celebrate Veterans Day. And I remember saying to one woman, by the way, who I wanted to have on as a guest, and that's definitely not going to happen. I said to her, you know, I've only been with white women, and it's sad because I'm not Muslim and I'm not from that Middle Eastern culture, that I have not romantically ever been with, say, an Arabic or an Afghani woman, because there are some beautiful, beautiful women over there. That's why some of these troops have raped some of them, because they're highly, highly attracted to them. Again, just because someone has sex with someone doesn't mean that they actually like their ethnicity or care about them as a human being. Okay, you need to understand this. So a lot of people that have mixed race children, they go, my son's half Mexican, my son's half Arabic, my son's half Afghani. What's your point? Do you stand against their persecution, or do you just hump and fuck until the baby shat out your ass? Okay, because unless you can say that their lives matter of the ethnicity of your child, which my mother will never do in a million years while she's alive, that's not the same thing as actually truly loving your child. So like when a lot of people say, I love you, son, they don't really mean I love you. It can mean you're my property, you're my DNA, you came out of my snatch, you came out of my dick, I brought you in this world, I can take you out. I think Homer Simpson squeezing the neck of his son, Bart, as if that's something funny, as if that's something to laugh at. And here we see, back to The Simpsons, two things that are written on the boxes of Homer Simpson's prepper gear. One of them is the Quran, a box of Qurans, and the other is porn. Okay, so here we have the implanting of thoughts in the mainstream media audience. Get porno and lots of porno and mess up your mind with it. And here's a box of Qurans. Hence, Islamic invasion. Fox News has gone Islamic. Yeah, sure. They've had people on Fox News call for the murder of Muslims. I repent of my self-censorship ways. I admit what I am now ethnically. On my Twitter biography right now, I declare that I am the most suppressed in the alternative media, the most censored, the most shadow banned of half Afghani, but really 1/4 because the rest is East Indian. We talked about this. And then the rest, we have Welsh, Germanic, Austrian, English through the Lewis line and the Nagel line. Not to be confused with the Jewish Nagel with the knee, but N-A-G-L. And there's many N-A-G-L Nagels in Austria and in Europe that you can find on Facebook. In the past, I wanted to maybe contact some of these people and tell them that basically we're related, even though I'm dark and I had a father from the East. But we all know the truth. Just like my father's family, Bruce, Sean Nagel, David Nagel, the late David Nagel, who died in a motorcycle accident, and their father, Phil. And then there's my cousin, Anna, who looks like some sort of a sports model herself, along with Zoe Ansary, who's half Anglo, half white. None of these human beings want anything to do with me. And the trauma is real. Again, watch that video, 66 questions. So there is, in reality, no man like me on the planet. And I feel an obligation to defend not only my homeland of Portland, Oregon, from the evil things that have happened there, but the homeland of my ancestors whose graves are being bombed back to the Stone Age. On the topic of Portland, it's amazing how they act like they're standing up against white supremacy when they have their own, when they prefer their own or those that are black, unless, of course, there's someone that's going to stand against the far left agenda. Then they will exile those people of African heritage and target them and even attack them, like what they've done to an individual by the name of Eli in Portland, Oregon. I have sympathy for Eli's plight. Sometimes I wonder if Eli really has sympathy for my plight in reality, hearing the things that he has said on some of his videos over the years. I really, really doubt he has really full, true sympathy for my plight or empathy. And I find that to be unfortunate because those of us of mixed race heritages from places like Portland, Oregon, that's dominated by white supremacy and the token blacks that they bring along with their domination, control, or destroyer program, we need to stick together and resolve our differences and understand the things that we do agree on. But the fact of the matter is, if I'm waiting for friends to emerge out of the audience, I'm going to be waiting a very long time. Because that's in the past, folks, and if you haven't seen my video, why conspiracy theorists are not your friends, especially those that are obsessed with saying that they're being gang stalked and there is no demonic program and there is no spiritual attack, and they want to stay stuck in this limited flat earth, the Russians are okay, Trump is okay, oh, I'm such a victim consciousness. I can't help them see the light if they don't want to see the light, but I have light and gnosis guaranteed. I am not an idiot. I know exactly what I'm saying because I know what's happened to me. I know that demons have jumped in the body of most of the human population. There was somebody with Rapture in the name of his title on YouTube. I don't know if he's watching all my videos, but he said, you're not really off the grid unless you leave the US. And I had a reply to that. And I watched some of his videos where he's talking about demonic possession. Everybody that comments, I go and I see if they have a channel, if they have their own content. And he's basically saying that 1/3 of the population is basically taken over by demons. And I would say that it's actually far, far, far greater than that. So in reality, there's no excuse for the amount of censorship that I have faced. Whatever I post in Portland Reddit promptly gets removed if I show my face. So if I show my brown ethnic face, it's immediately deleted by the moderator. If I post a text and I don't put in my name, and I say what I want to say, then I get a pass. So there is also, I'm expanding other topics here. There is a big attack on the alternative media, not just from AI and the corporate media, but from the brainwashed masses. They only want to hear from a Clyde Lewis, but I'm willing to restore ties to Clyde Lewis. And I put out a text today saying, if you want to restore ties, I'll repent of my anger towards you and some of my unconscious actions, because I'm willing to go on a show to talk about my future book. But that aside, most humans will prefer a white Clyde Lewis or a white Alex Jones or a white David Icke or a white David Wilcock or a white James Gillen or a white Laura Eisenhower or a white Alfred Weber or a white Corey Good or a white Max Egan or a white Cliff High or a white Doug Owen of OracleBroadcasting.com, who with Lee Rogers deleted all my archives, or a Vinnie Eastwood in New Zealand, or Ramtha, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Ramtha. So you need to get it through your skull for those that are slow, but I think most of you get it. Being aware of white supremacy, being aware of Islamophobia, being aware of anti-themism. If you Google anti-themism, guess who is the only man on earth who has used that term? Google anti-themism and tell me who's there on Google. It is me. I am the one out of 8 billion that is going to educate the masses in the future, long after I'm gone, with what this word really means, along with the switch programming. When they flip the switch and the hate is on, yeah, the hate is on, the hate is on, yeah, the hate is on. You will hear me karaoke and you will like it. See, there are people that are brainwashed that think that people that are white don't go along with the programming. They absolutely do go along with the programming. So do most Arabs, Afghans, blacks, and Latinos. It's less than 1% of the human population at present that even acts like it has a soul, that even acts like it understands the fundamental differences between right and wrong. And so I have bled and I have bled and I have bled energetically for you for so many years. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of videos. Only in an insane asylum would it be considered normal and sane to think that you need to self-censor your warnings about China and Russia, to take down your videos about gender warfare because they only attracted assholes in mass, with only a few spiritual MGTOW folks. Okay, we are in a global insane asylum where the more racist you are, the more hateful you are, the more lies that you spread, the more viewers you will get. And the more truthful you are, whether you're a Julie Epperly or whether you're a Desert Fox, or whether you're somebody else, the more you will be suppressed. Doesn't matter if you've been speaking for 10 years or 15 years. you will have no more than 20, 30, or 40 viewers. It's a combination of not only the AI suppression, but the human beings themselves that are acting like they have already taken the mark of the beast or the microchip. So Portland, Oregon wants to complain. The people in Portland, Oregon want to complain about the homeless, about the corruption at City Hall, about the incompetency. But they won't say anything about the true nature of white supremacy in Portland, Oregon, that will not allow people like me to enter into the workforce, to be welcomed into the communities, or to have a job at City Hall. They might have some people that immigrated from Africa or from Saudi Arabia or Lebanon to work literally at the city of Portland as an assistant to Ted Wheeler. So of course they can look like they're all loving and everything. We're not racist. We're not with him. We're not with him. We're not racist. Look at the people at our front desk. Look how diverse it is. But you peel back the layers of the onion and you look a little closer at the city of Portland and the people that are actually making the decisions. No, people of color and immigrants are not making any decisions. They are using those people. And many people from foreign countries, because of Stockholm Syndrome, are more than willing to be their bitch. I'm going to tell you a story. I was working out. I don't think we talked about this yet. I was working out, pumping iron, and going to the sauna at a place called the Durango Sports Club during that short period in time in which I felt that it was no longer safe for me to stay on my land, and I was staying at a shelter of sorts where they had a bunch of drug addicts and people that were straight up possessed by the devil. And I got out of there when the COVID thing began to kick off because I was having dreams of the government quarantining that, and now I realized those were psychic attacks. It never happened. They didn't quarantine that building, but because of the fears that were being pumped into us during that time period and the years that followed, I decided that I would start moving around a little bit and talk to a few contacts that I had, stay at a few off-grid places, and just basically lay low from the internet. But in the winter of 2000, I was pumping iron at the Durango Sports Club, and there was a man that was working there, an old man, and he looked at me a lot. I got a lot of the looks at the gym like, who are you? Oh, you're a foreigner. You totally do not belong here. And I got like really, you do know that I've worked out at gyms for years, especially Noel Fuller's gym in Portland, Oregon, called the Jungle Gym or Foster Fitness. But even Noel, who had the poster of 300 at the bathroom, which plays up the whole Spartans versus the invading Persians, it really scratches that racist itch, if you will. It really appeals to certain people. Oh, it's just a comic book like The Punisher, but it's actually co-opted for black magic purposes. Noel acts like he's totally against Trump and racism on his current Facebook page. I've since removed Noel from my page. He's a bodybuilder, by the way, in Portland who pushes steroids, and I'm not a fan of Noel. I'm not a fan of Noel's friends. I miss my old friend in Portland, Oregon, but that's another story. That's another story. And I met Noel as a 13-year-old through the A-Man, who took me on my 13th birthday to meet Noel Fuller, a famous bodybuilder. Not super famous, but well-known in the bodybuilder circuit. And so even though he acts like he's against racism of the far right, he straight up called me a leftist liberal in like a derogatory way when I was pumping iron at his gym. And when I was talking about the need to get prepared for future world events, he said openly, "You're crazy." And I remember having a weird feeling about him and it was actually embarrassed myself to be seen at the strip club on 50th and Powell. And he came in with this big bouncer-sized workout assistant. And even though I'm there at the strip club having my drink and being a part of that scene, I felt ashamed to be there. And I lost respect for him. Looking at him go to the back and get the dance for $20. You know, get the hump along. What do they call it? The lap dance, right? Man, I got stories I can tell you, but I think it's a little bit early for that. Save it for a book. But I've come to understand the true nature of the dark side and the dark side of women and men from hanging around these places over the years. Not in recent years, but we're talking more so in the 2012 era and pre-2012. So the most of my activity plus dating and sexuality would be concentrated then between 2008, just so you know, and 2013. And following that period in time, my activity with these types of industries and whatnot ceased completely. And in recent years, I completely stepped away from all adult content because you cannot be a man of God and consume that content. Which reminds me, I need to discuss a few things along those lines for those that haven't seen my previous videos. So let's go back to the Durango Sports Club. I'm getting a lot of negative looks, including from one guy who has the Punisher logo on his car. I'm getting like the stare of death, like this man wants to kill me because, of course, I was living in an area in Colorado where there was a massive amount of veterans. And instead of these veterans appreciating my alternative media content from an ethnic perspective, I was conditioned to be afraid of them. As I saw their stickers, ISIS Hunter, drive by my property. As I saw them drive around Durango, Colorado, young punks in old pickup trucks, ISIS Hunter. I know they're not really looking for ISIS. I know that in their minds, any woman that they see in a hijab or any man that looks Arabic, they're automatically going to view them as ISIS because of the fake news propaganda targeting the state of Florida, the state of Virginia, and the state of Colorado. Few Americans ever had any sympathy for me, few if any, of my plight, living in an off-grid environment after already being exiled by white supremacist leftists in Portland, Oregon, having to live in an all-right ring, Trump-supporting, Odin-worshiping, Alex Jones-worshiping part of Colorado. Nobody seemed to care. And so when I moved there, unlike, say, Alex Ansary going to live in Pagosa in 2005 or 2010 or 2011 or 2012, when I was living there in 2016, 17, 18, and 19, it was after the propaganda had already set in. After the thought form injections in the brain, fear, fear, fear. Anyone that doesn't look like you, anyone that looks remotely ethnic, they are the enemy. I was living in a hornet's nest of satanic hatred, and nobody gave a shit about my plight. Not the Native American woman that I saw there, not the churches that I talked to. I even reached out to a woman who works at a church there who wanted to talk with me to a certain degree about things until, of course, I let her listen to my podcast. And then she stopped talking to me right away. So at the Durango Sports Club, this old man, he said several things about me in my presence and would even point at me and people would look. One day I went in with a new pair of shoes because when I started there, I was so poor, making 100, 150 a month from what few supporters were on my Patreon. People like Eric G, who called into the Coast to Coast show when I was there in June. The Coast to Coast family, so to speak, didn't give a damn about my interview, by the way. I knew it was a mistake to put my picture up looking so ethnic, but I want to just come out, be who you are, right? Be who you are, bro. Just be yourself. That is a lie. This whole just be yourself bullshit is a effing lie. You want to be accepted by mainstream America? Do not be yourself. Understand the types of things that's going to cause someone to look, that looks like a foreigner. Giddy up, yep. So had I used maybe a different profile pic for the Coast to Coast AM webpage in which my skin wasn't super brown from the sun, as if that's a bad thing, and had I not have a name like Ansary, which triggers some people that know about Aziz Ansary, the Pakistani comedian who traded blows with Trump on social media, right? That was not beneficial to me. So, this old man at the Durango Sports Club, when I got my new soccer shoes on that I bought for like $2 or $3 at the Goodwill, because I don't want to get their gym super dirty with my old poor shoes. Because again, I couldn't afford clean clothes and new shoes. The donations were not there. There were some people that were donating before I got deep into the solar flares and before I went on Coast to Coast. And I actually alienated people that were donating to me by talking about those things. I literally received emails going, I don't believe in that stuff. I don't believe that we're affected by magnetic fields. You're weird, Alex. I'm now bailing. He says to another old man, as I'm changing, getting half naked, Saddam Hussein in Iran, he meant to say Iraq. That's how dumb he was. Saddam Hussein would execute his soccer players when they didn't win a game. And here I am, I'm changing, taking off my clothes. I've got a hairy chest, And some people have made jokes like Ryan McPherson in Colorado about me being Bigfoot. And Mike Bluehair of Oregon Cop Watcher, also called me Bigfoot. And see, that's actually a sign to have facial hair and body hair of testosterone. And it's amazing how people in this culture will look down upon someone with testosterone. They will work out and they will have muscles, but they say, watch out for those Middle Eastern individuals who look like they're military trained. Oh, they're such a threat, but let us work out at the gym, pump iron, take steroids, and have big beards, and it's A-okay for us. And it's hypocritical. There was another old man with a big white beard as I was changing and showing my bare, hairy chest. He literally said the words, I think it's time for the KKK to ride again. And if you do some digging in history into the history of the KKK in America, Durango, Colorado was a centerpiece for that. Major KKK events took place there. Also in a place called Bayfield, Colorado. I did not report on those things while I was living there. Now I will. In Bayfield, Colorado in 2017 and 2018, they had a show and tell event at the library there that I read about. And when I read about it, even though it seems like it's neutral, I thought about the idea of them even summoning spirits through their show and tell event. And they were showing basically the gowns that the KKK used to wear. So they preserve these, just like they preserve concentration camps that they put the Jews in places in Europe. Oh, supposedly so we don't forget. Is that really the truth? Evil places where evil things have been done and evil things themselves, if they've been used for evil, should be destroyed. You want to remember something? Write a fucking book. Because the energy, the magnetism of the spirits, the humans that used to wear those gowns, those outfits, those KKK outfits, and I told you it's in my grandmother's ancestry. That would be Ruth Lewis, as if the Lewis line, the Welsh bloodline. Also Germanic or English. So they do a show and tell event showing off these KKK robes. And the people, oh, good, that was my grandpa. Wow, that was wow, amazing. The gown's still intact, amazing. And I'm thinking to myself, it's almost as if like the spirits of the KKK were riding in the wind, like the Four Horsemen or the Apocalypse. Like something out of Lord of the Rings. And by the way, like when I go on my old YouTube channel, OTB TV News, I get the creepiest feeling. And they hit a button. Somebody hit a button somewhere to make sure that my videos don't get above 100, 150 views. Whereas the other videos, when I came back to YouTube a month ago, 350 views, 370 views on the first two videos. Then the second two videos come out, 120 views, 140 views. Is that really because the people didn't find my content relevant? Possibly. Or is it the result of somebody hitting a button or AI taking over and going, only so many people are going to be notified of this post? Meanwhile, other people, the same amount of subscribers, that will think that they are more superior than me when they don't actually expose white slavery and what's coming to America's daughters in the future in the event of China and Russia invading America. They will have 10,000 views on their videos, and they will still say to the death falsely that they are the true victims, when in fact they are, and other white supremacists, being carried by the chariots of the algorithms. They have a red carpet that has been laid out for them. Now they can go on BitChute and do anything they want. They can go on Rumble and do anything they want. They can go on Gab and True Social and Telegram and form neo-Nazi gangs, and Google will link to their BitChute page. We have such a retardation in the folks that think that they are so superior that they will not admit openly that these algorithms are carrying them on chariots. They are this is the new chariots of the gods, although they're not really gods, but they see themselves as gods. A lot of white people and a lot of black people today falsely think that they are the descendant of gods and that they have the right to rule over the rest of us. And I'm here to tell you that is a fucking lie. They do not have the right to rule after us. And they're going to radicalize some black Americans, not all, but some. Radicalize some white Americans, but not all, but some, to do the dirty work in the future. And all those evil things that will be done under the guise of keeping America safe. It will all be used against America in the future world court. All the Nazism, all the black on white crime. and all these other things that are going on. It's all going to be used against the American people in the future. And it seems that only I have the eyes to see and ears to hear and heart to feel. We're going to start wrapping things up. I'm going to tell you again and again and again and again what you don't know about what's featured in porn. White men in soldier outfits are portrayed raping Afghani, Iraqi women. And if you don't know that after the invasion of Iraq, that prostitution went through the roof and pornography was being sold in Baghdad. And so we have these extremes. On one hand, you have the Taliban world in which the woman wears the burqa, not to be confused with the hijab. The hijab and the burqa are not the same thing. And then you have the women that are being conditioned to be the OnlyFans whores, to go from cock to cock to cock to cock, to not truly have love in their heart for a good man, but to be carnal, nymphomaniac, antidepressant-taking fuck freaks, straight from hell, while falsely thinking that they're Christian and followers of Jesus, while in reality being possessed by evil, evil spirits. And if that wasn't the case, people would thank me, women of my past would thank me for being a better man than I was in the past. But we all know the truth, ladies and gentlemen, and you should know the truth now. They like the old Alex Ansary way more than the new Alex Ansary. The old Alex Ansary that would let people walk on him, that would care too much about what women thought about him. The old Alex Ansary that drank, smoked cigarettes, had promiscuous sex, and smoked a lot of cannabis. Because that in reality makes your aura weaker. There's plenty of positive things about cannabis, but if it was free and somebody was sending me a massive amount or something, in which I don't have to go to the dispensary and basically spend my last dollar, then maybe I would be consuming it, but it's not free. And there's other things that poor people like me right now need to be paying for, like food, like carrot juice. Walmart sucks, but I like the Bolthouse Farms juice. Okay, I like the grass-fed, organic ground beef, which is what I'm gonna make after this video. Also gotta do some cleaning. Had some coffee today, by the way. Can you tell? But I don't do anything else. And just because people in this world might think that I'm crazy or schizophrenic because I talk about the archons, I don't see or hear things that are not there. I know it within my body. It's in my ancestry. The combination of genetics coming together in a fusion force has allowed me to understand what other humans cannot. So I know that black supremacy is bullshit. And I know that white supremacy is bullshit. And I know that I, a combination of genetics, is able to access information and ideas that these supremacists are not. The Black Lives Matter will say Palestinian lives matter. Some of the more radical versions will get behind Hamas, but have they ever said Afghan lives matter? Do the people that say all lives matter in retort to Black Lives Matter actually mean Afghan lives matter? You actually type in Afghan lives matter, you will only find Afghans on Twitter. You literally have to be of the genetic code of the bombed to truly believe that in your heart. Those of you that do agree with me on that, you must come to terms with the fact that you're like less than 0.001% of the human population. There were people in my audience that when I told them that I was ethnic in 2015, 2016, and that people looked at me like I was Arabic in town in Pagosa Springs, they were acting like they were being attacked. And they're like, no, that's not true. Yes, it is. Okay, unsubscribe. They literally could not allow me to speak like a man. They wanted a feminized little boy, Alex Ansary, who's going to spin doctor conspiracy theories, sound like Clyde Lewis, George Norrie, or Alex Jones. But if I actually talk about my real lived experience in Pagosa, all of a sudden they're going to look down on me. And that is not the type of audience that you want. Doesn't matter how many hundreds of dollar bills they're going, like that guy from American Psycho, where he wants to bang that prostitute again and hurt her. He's like, and she's walking away. She doesn't want to get beaten by that guy anymore. He's like, and he's holding out like a big, big wad of cash. She finally stops walking and she takes the money. So now I'm going to read to you. There's a reason why I took down my donation options and I worked really shitty jobs for a couple of years that you people don't know about. I worked 5, 6 jobs in Pagosa that some of you don't know about. And so I didn't want the dirty money of people that don't care about my soul to just donate to me because there's a donation option, because I only want people to contribute to me financially that actually care about all my DNA, the land of my ancestors. And so if I am to be successful, as Zaire said to me the other day, you're going to be successful. And as my father's brother said to me, you're going to be successful one day. I love you more than your dad, which he never said to me before. He's not responding to my Facebook messages with my new content. Neither is Tamim, but Tamim is looking. He has seen that I'm trying to contact him, but he's not responding. I only want the support to come from people that truly want me to be as strong as I can be, not a co-opted Alex Ansary that shadow bans himself and privates half his effing content on the internet. I don't want those people. I don't want Biden supporters, Trump supporters, Clinton supporters, George Bush supporters, Baphomet supporters, people that follow Satan to bother with my content. Because if I did, folks, and listen to me carefully, if I did, I would be on my original YouTube channel. I would be trying to get on Patriot Radio, as if they would have me now. As if they would have me now. Not unless I'm going to shill for them and be a DeSouza, or be a David Patrick Valuetainment, be a Ari Yemeni, or a Chad Booksum. Who else is there, right? Really, you don't have very many. And you would think, McFly, that there's nobody that you can even tell me of my own blood out of a world of 8 billion people saying things even remotely close to the things that I am saying. So I know in my heart that I am an asset to the true Creator. This is why I am not allowed to sin like some of you. I'm not allowed to sleep around. I'm not allowed to do certain drugs. I'm not allowed to steal. I'm not allowed to harm others. Even if I have negative thoughts about people, those thoughts come to haunt me in my dreams. One time I had certain negative thoughts about people speeding their cars past the place in which I lay my head. I had very angry thoughts. And then in my dream, I'm seeing a gun being pointed at me. It's not firing, but it's like. So in my world, I'm not allowed to be a bad boy. Other people that are not on the spiritual path, they are allowed to be naughty, bad girls and boys. They are allowed, in some cases, to rape, to kill, to torture, to rip people off, to slander. And nothing bad happens to them yet in this life. But I'm here to tell you, and I'm speaking as a messenger of God. And there are many of us. It is not just Jesus. It is not just Muhammad. It is not just Buddha. It is not just Krishna. If you do not know that there are many messengers of God among you, you do not have the eyes to see, ears to hear, or heart to feel. And I'm here to tell you that there are messengers of God amongst you, and you will not hide from God's wrath if you have followed Satan's doctrine, if you are a servant to Satan's kingdom. And let me say more about that. There are certain cities that are going to be sacrificed in the future during this conflict. And there are certain cities that may stand. Just because they stand and they don't topple doesn't mean that it's of God. Because this war that's coming is not of God, it is of Satan. And so there's going to be certain areas that are sacrificed and certain areas in America that will stand. And even if some of us are in areas that are still standing, that does not mean really that it was God. And that's nothing to celebrate, because we're still going to be, like myself, traumatized at what we're reading about when we hear about Portland being nuked or attacked, or Seattle, or Colorado Springs, or Denver. There's nothing beautiful about living in a world like that. And of course, once those things happen, we're going to be thrust into a draft. Our country may be taken over by foreign forces that may be planning to extract revenge on America's daughters. Again, I've been telling you for years, there's a reason why they allowed all this really dark pornography to be allowed on the internet, which again promotes human trafficking, women being kidnapped from the country. Literally, it's in the videos. And you don't have to be a pervert or a psychopath to be aware that there are those videos. All you have to be is someone who's using porn and consuming it and looking at what's on the feed. And the vast majority of what they put on those websites has nothing to do with sex. And as far as I'm concerned, shouldn't be legal. And in another video, we will talk about things that are broken within the criminal justice system and ways in which rapists and murderers and thieves and people that beat their kids, if there is any potential for them to be rehabilitated, we need to talk about what that is. And the current criminal justice system, where you just throw them in a prison and you take them away from nature and you take them away from the sun and you put them in an environment where they have to join a race gang in order to prevent themselves from being raped, that is not the way, and it's not an accident that that is the way in which things are conducted now. So I've mentioned Private Dancer, the song by Tina Turner. And it's basically, I play it for you now if we were able to play music, but we're not. But it has to do with her feeling like a piece of property, dancing at a strip club or dancing somewhere, and basically the people being zombie-like to a certain degree. All the men come into these places, and the men are all the same. You don't look at their faces, and you don't ask their names. You don't think of them as human. You don't think of them as at all. You keep your mind on the money, keeping your eyes on the wall. I'm your private dancer, dancer for money. I'll do what you want me to do. I'm your private dancer, a dancer for money, and any old music will do. I want to make $1 million. I want to live out by the sea, have a husband and some children. Yeah, I guess I want a family. All these men come into these places, and the men are all the same. You don't look at their faces, and you don't know their names. I'm your private dancer, dances for money. Do what you want me to do. I'm your private dancer, a dancer for money, and any old music will do. And we'll just stop there. So you think this is just about a stripper, but it's more. You can also apply that to somebody who's in the alternative media. I'm your private YouTuber, YouTubing for money. Say what you want me to say. And so if I were to speak a certain way, if I were to use clickbait in a certain way, use my original YouTube channel, try to get big names on my channel, avoid talking about the victims of war, play up black genocide, white genocide, stay away from caring about the third world, attack Muslims, become a misogynist, attack women in the MGTOW movement, get on board the flat earth psychosis, tell lies about the sun, tell people that it's a grand solar minimum, or the sun is dying. Don't tell people how we're affected by the sun. If I were to get on board these lies and more and fly a MAGA flag, but especially if I was the right ethnicity, you were combined those cocktail of factors and more, I would have enough money for a house. I wouldn't be living in poverty, spending the money that came from the sale of my land towards my teeth. But I'm not going to sell out, because it doesn't matter how much money you make. You cannot take that money with you when you die. And every sin that we committed in the flesh is going to be brought up before the Creator when it's Judgment Day. So whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, also known as Muslims, those darn Muslims. There is no escape, because you are being watched. People are so focused about being watched by the Panopticon dystopia. Panopticon being the name for a European prison developed in the 16th century, even before the rise in surveillance cameras, where there's a watchtower that can see all the inmates. And so the inmates in the prison don't know when they're being watched or not. There's way more fear of the dark one and the evil one of this realm than there is of fear of God. And although that sounds like, I'm into some Orthodox religion. Honestly, are people really afraid of God? Do people really respect God? Do people really respect God's children and the forms of life that God has brought to the earth? Or do they say they worship God in the name of Jesus as they put the cross on their shields, as they massacre the Muslims, as they massacre the Native Americans, as they massacre the Aboriginals in Australia and other places? And so, that is blasphemy, ladies and gentlemen. What these soldiers of fortune have done is blasphemy. And like I said, it's totally hypocritical for there to be these off-grid, pot-smoking Trump supporters who won't admit to themselves that Trump is not legalizing pot at the federal level and has done nothing to support off-grid rights. So it makes no sense for you to be a Trump loyalist and be a viewer of Alex Ansary, or to be someone that voted for Joe Biden and to be a viewer of Alex Ansary. Okay, I want to see more people drawn to my work. They're going to bypass the AI programming. They're going to bypass the AI algorithm with the eyes to see and ears to hear and heart open enough to be able to take in the essence of my message. Not just come and try to suck off my life force through watching the screen and fixating on me, but to actually take in the words that I'm saying. And I know the truth. If I really, really want to reach the people of this world, I have to write a book for those people that cannot stand the sight of me and cannot sound or stand the sound of my voice. And then there are those that will not read anything that I write, that will only watch my YouTube channel or only connect with me on Facebook, but don't have the inner self-discipline to check in and check their social media addiction, to reel it back now, and actually come over to my Substack. I literally have to be on Facebook if I even want to reach certain people. And I'm telling you, that is highly, highly unconscious. So there's a big, big difference in conclusion between having hate in your heart for the human species and having a dislike of the programming that has infected the vast majority of the humans that are alive today. We are not living in the collective shift in consciousness for the better, despite the potential for some people to individually have that shift. We are actually living in the new dark ages. And messengers of God like myself are alive for a reason, and we have a message. And there are some that are going to understand it, and there are many that will attack it. And so this isn't about me investing in my retirement in the future. I could go back to the workforce if I wanted to and work a shit job for $7 an hour, $8 an hour, $9 an hour, and make way more than I would in donations. But what's going to happen to my soul? If God sent me to earth to have the parents that I had, to be born 2 months after the Afghani invasion by the Russians, several months before Mount St. Helens, to be born during the solar maximum period in late February 1980, then if I am to say that my job is done and stop speaking my truth, then what am I doing to benefit my soul? If I'm going to tailor my language so that women will be attracted to me, so that they might want to sleep with me or to give me positive comments or to send me emails, then I'm not serving God. I'm serving Shaitan. I'm serving the demiurge. I'm serving the devil of this world. So the fact of the matter is, the vast majority of the people you know and the people that I know and have interacted with are not serving God. They're barriers to God. We should not act or speak in a way to impress other human beings, but to impress and serve the Almighty Creator. Paul, I want to thank you for your donation. There are very, very few donations coming in at this time. I'm totally fine with that. But I'm just going to let people know that despite my best efforts and all the content that I'm creating, there is very little financial support. But instead of let it get me down, I will just continue and continue because I do not work for the riches of this world. I'm here to invest in the hereafter. Because this war between myself and the devil of this world, it is not going to be over after my spirit or soul is no longer in the flesh. Okay, that is guaranteed.